SDLC as part of the car assembly line. Like we need to have the pieces first. Right now we are making the pieces. It seems like we are making the game, but no, we are still making the pieces right now. That's why I didn't like the game page being in components, because it's not a component for me. It's part of an essential piece that is going to be used later on in the game. So at the end of the day, we will intervene every once in a while. We will do adjustments, but it is not going to be that way. Yeah. So let me share my screen again and we will continue with where we left off. So the good news is we actually created the application again. So let me open this up.
So I'm running behind. I didn't do anything, so I'll wait until you share that prompt with me and I'll try again. But from now on, yours is the gold standard. So we're going to go down with the the Opus path, right? Because that seems to be doing some solid work at the moment.
I don't want to oversell it. I think we are in a good state. Of course, we will have some things that we want to do. Like, first of all, this needs to be centered. We need to have another layer of framing. But come on, these are nice. We have the Captain Jack, the score, the timing, and everything. I think we are like slowly bringing it all together. So, how do you like it right now? What is your take?
Almost. But again, the board structure is not right yet. So let's now fix the board layout, right?
All right, let's go with the Kiro. And with the Kiro, we talked about earlier on, we talked about here are some things that the game board and logic is missing. And we will continue from the same chat. I'm not going to create a new one because the previous implementation wasn't perfect as well. So I will just change the priority of it. Yeah.
So what you're doing, okay, is we're seeing Salih work from the same conversation, right? Same tab in Kiro. And if you're just starting out using these AI coding tools, okay, you might be thinking, when do I use the same chat window versus when do I use a new one? And it's important that all the stuff that Kiro has done for us already is in that chat window, is in the context window, which means that as we ask it to do things or change things, the change is going to be more relevant. Okay. It's going to know what it's already done. I've seen people do everything as a new chat and then they get very varying degrees of output. So I just wanted to let you know that this is something that Salih is doing. He's working specifically in the same chat window for that reason.
All right. So first thing that I will do is to add number one. This is actually going to be number two. And the priority has changed. The first one is right now, the game board is top left aligned. I want it to be center aligned. The game page and game board. Okay, this is the first thing. The second thing that we are missing is, again, from the game page is the framing. Outer frame from the design to contain all the game logic is missing. Third thing, the outer structure of the game board should accept a column rows number equals what can be 5 for columns and 5 for rows.
So columns, you want 5 columns? Is it 5 columns? It's 1, 2, 3. It's 7.
7.
It's 7 columns default.
Okay.
And I think the way is that within the columns, I think the way we should describe it is that in the columns, there will be either 5 or 4. Sorry, yeah. So what we need to make sure is that there's 7 columns, but also for each column, we tell explicitly how many tiles. So we shouldn't look at it from the point of view of rows, because I think that may confuse it, right? But a column and the number of constituents within that column will be easier for it to understand because they're consistent. So it's always, as I think you've written one below that. So I think just to make it a little bit more specific.
Exactly. So we have only a column number, which is 7, and we have tiles per column. And we talked about a super basic logic of for even numbers, it's going to be n number. per column, and if it's odd, it's n minus 1. So right now we have 4 improvements in place. Let's continue with this one. One thing that I really feel reluctant of doing about AI agents, working with AI agents, is actually asking them to do 6,000 things at once. It might confuse them, not might, it will confuse them. Like, this is something we know. This is not something that we are thinking about. So I gave 4 tasks for it. One is to fix the left alignment, create a frame, create a logic to do column and drawing. If it does that, actually, we will have something similar to what Ricardo has created earlier on. And once we have that, the next thing is polishing the game logic slowly. And actually, we will do even a better job than this. We will move the gaming logic into its own logic and state mechanism. Because right now, everything's happening inside component. And we hate bringing business logic inside the UI components. UI components needs to be done. Really, like, it cannot do operations. It can react to the operations. That is why they have state. They have state. They can build on top of it. But they should not do the operations. The operations should happen through state management systems, and we will slowly incorporate into what we have as well.
Okay, so I think I get that. And that makes perfect sense, right? Separating the business logic from the UI logic. But when you mentioned you want to just basically capture what those state operations are. So I guess hover is one, right? Click a tile is another. Is this something that as you start working with React or any front end mechanism, you start to see the matrix? Neo started seeing everything in numbers. Is this something that you need to start like trying to decompose the world into?
It is. It is actually. The reason is that we also work with the tools that are forcing us to think this way as well. When you work with even basic HTML, when you use the basic HTML button, it has states as well. Like, it has information. There is the on button, on hover things. And when you use CSS, you think this as well. You define for a state for each element. On hover, show this color. On this, show this color, and so on. You have to think it like this because I think we are spoiled with the front end. And right now with AI in place, we are thinking everything is super easy, but it is not actually. It is very hard and complicated. As I go deeper into the world of front end or like mobile development, web development, whatever you want to call it, there are some things that we take it for granted, and we should appreciate more. Like, one of them is text, for example. Text is freaking hard. And I didn't know about it until I worked on an open source library called Super Editors to create a rich text editor for Flutter. Because then we go to chat app, I'm like, oh, Control B, it's easy. Let's do bold, Control I, italic. It's so hard to turn that bold into italic and think about drawing each element and thinking about the rendering mechanism behind it. That's crazy. That is why we think we are programmed to think this way. And that's why when I mention this stuff, I always think about what we can do next.
Okay, I think your build is finished, but you've not your sharing has gone again. So let's see what's happened.
Let's see. So let me run this one again. I'm really excited. Okay. Oh my God. So of course there are some mistakes. One is we said the default value should be like 5 tasks per column, and it is not drawing as a column. Like, it actually draws rows. And of course the alignment is broken because of that as well. Positive side, the alignment is working. But the problem here is it actually tried to fill the space that is available. And again, AI is not perfect, right? No, we do not want to fill the available space. We want to draw columns, and we want to make sure that it follows along that process. Yeah.
So what you're seeing here is exactly the kind of the loop of doom I got into, right? Where I was trying to, through the prompts, actually get it to do this, right? So in the end, the only way I was able to do it is, first of all, focus on columns as opposed to rows and columns, but then also provide an image that showed the kind of structure of the column. So I think I've got an image. Let me see if I can find the image. Maybe I haven't got the image anymore. No, I think I used to have the image.
I want to try something. One thing that I want to try is, so we learned something from the previous implementations, and we know AI is not fully deterministic. We are fine with it. One problem that I see is maybe we can go deeper and explain better as well. Let's go and try to fix it without the image. Let's try to tell it step by step how it should think. First of all, we see the mistakes that it does. We will tell it, like, there's something called negative prompting. Negative prompting is like you just give negative input. So you put restrictions to the agent or to the AI. So it does not do it. It's like you give them extra laws to follow along. It's not like the laws of like robotics from iRobot, but it's more simple ones. But
so let's do that then. Let's fix this. And then, because we're coming up to time, we've got about 10 minutes left.
All right.
So this is going to be the last thing we do before we wrap up for this episode. But we will be back next week at the same time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'll be carrying on this. So basically, let's take it away, Salih.
All right. So let's start with, I will continue with the same chat, by the way, because this is still around layouting and we are still not able to fix what we need. So first thing that we will do is to tell what it did wrong. So I will say, first of all, there are some issues with the implementation. All right. First thing that we will tell is game board page is not left center line. It is filling the available space. It should wrap the content and position itself at left center part of the screen. I want to do an explanation here. Wrap content is a term. Wrap content is based, like it's self-explanatory, but it actually allows you to say that whatever I have in, like, generally when you draw something, the children is aware of parent, but parent is not aware of children. Children are components inside another component. They know the available space that they have, but they do not know the available space provider doesn't know what's going on inside. And here, what I say is make sure you always keep yourself in the minimum height. Do not give any provided UI areas to the others. This is again coming from all of the UI things that you see included in apps to the web things. The second thing that we will do is, this problem is not fixed. Let's see.
Question. We just got a question asked within that. I was hoping you writing this using Flutter. Is Claude good for writing similar games using Flutter? I don't know Flutter. So Salih, I'm going to pass that one over to you.
From my point of view, right now with AI driven development in place, I think Flutter is in a very good spot as well. Flutter has an official MCP server for Dart and Flutter as well. So you can bring that into the cloud as well. It depends on your model too, but I've seen from my fellow Flutter developers that they love cloud models. They use Haiku a lot. Like I've seen a lot of praise around 4.5 Haiku. Sorry, Opus, not Haiku. Opus a lot. Haiku is great as well for like text and everything, but for creating apps, people are literally in love with Opus. So if you're using cloud models or cloud code, whatever is AI or Kiro, exactly. And this is what we do here. You can use Cloud Opus 4.5 to build it, but make sure you have the right context. And the context right now for Flutter is created by MCP. And make sure that you have everything in place. That being said, let's go back to screen.
So yeah, thanks for the question. We have to wrap up in 5 minutes. So we're going to get Salih on turbo mode whilst he finishes getting the board properly fixed.
The board. Make sure you call them also implementation, the alignment of, but here's the problem here again. Columns are not aware of each other. That is why they cannot align. But I will again use the Catan example here and say, use the Catan logic to align the columns.
So I was actually going to suggest that it seemed to be that when you mentioned the game of Katana, it actually understood that the layout. So I think that's what we should key on, right? Use that as the layout style should be in like Katana, but we want the style, we want 7 columns with 5 and 4. So it's a square shape rather than hexagon shape.
Use that. Okay, I will just run this and we will see what happens. If it doesn't happen, we will have next week to fix it anyway. But I'm really hopeful that these two general problems, we can fix it as well. And by the way, I want to thank for the question again. It's really better when we have other people chiming in, asking questions and so on. This is why we have this platform. Like right now I talk a lot, I know, but the goal is to pull everyone in and make this live stream cool.
Yeah, and maybe if people 8.6, maybe you feel sufficiently inspired to try and build your own version of this hexagon quiz game in Flutter, and then let us know how you get on and share some screenshots.
Yeah, maybe we can even give some spot in the live stream to that. Like they can share their learnings and so on. Who knows? This is a free platform, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are following along and you have created something, then drop Salih or myself a message and we'll invite you on to the next, whichever episode works for you. And you can walk us through what you've done and do a show and tell. That'd be awesome.
All right. So it says, got it ready for your next request. Okay. Let's see if you actually did it. This is the last iteration we will see. Then we will call it off. I really hope it did something better. 3, 2, 1. It's like the left alignment should be for the game board. This is why I didn't like it when it put it to the components, because when I say game board, it understood game page.
Okay, but it is slightly better, right? It's slightly better in some respects, but it's just, it's not quite right there. It's not quite right because we do have to wrap up, unfortunately. So this is it's like the kind of the suspense moment, right? At the end, bringing you into the next episode, right? And how we fix this, right? See it. We'll be back on Tuesday next week on YouTube, on Twitch, and hopefully back on LinkedIn. So with that, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching and stay safe until then.